everyone, and happy Monday. We're so excited because I actually have a high-level coach who's really well known in the real estate industry that is joining here today. And she actually had a long list of things that she could potentially share with all of you, and she only chose one for today. And I'll just share with you, we met in a really interesting way. I have been working to make sure that I know all of the highest level people in the industry and found one of her ads for her coaching and jumped on one of her calls and got to hear her do what she does best. And it was just really amazing. She's really down to earth like I am. She really has a heart to make an impact, and she's very talented and has years of experience. And then after that, I found out literally like a week and a half before that, Britt, who is on our vision team for the Legacy Collaborative, was physically with her in Austin, Texas, because they're a part of one of the same masterminds. So she and I talked on the phone and discovered that even though we found each other through an Instagram ad, we literally already had so much in common. And we just decided to multiply each other's impact and serve the audiences that we serve and work together. She's such a gift. I'm so excited. She has so many things I don't even know about her, and the little bit I know about her already, she's made a huge impact all over the industry. And I just can't say enough how grateful I am that you're here with us today, Erin. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and share all of the things. And then we're going to jump right into today's topic, which is going to transform all of your businesses. So get ready to take notes, get ready to ask questions. You know, I want you to share ahas, and we're going to have some Q&A time. So you're not going to want to miss this conversation. Thank you for being here, Erin.
Thank you, Sandra. And yes, the feeling is mutual. It's like when when you meet somebody and it's just the vibe is just immediate. It's so wonderful to find high energy, like-minded, incredible people out there in the industry. And there's Britt coming in. Britt and I were roomies in Austin. We both had our first ever ride in a Waymo together, the driverless car.
That was
What
so
are we
fun.
doing? Oh my gosh. So great to see you, Britt.
It's so good to see you. Awesome.
I'm going to share a little bit of a backstory with y'all before we jump in. And I want to share an actionable strategy here. Before everybody got on the call today, we were talking about how there is a pretty common theme right now in the marketplace around wanting more business. And so we decided that for today, we're going to focus on an actionable strategy that works 100% of the time to help you grow your business without feeling salesy, without feeling like a complete imposter, without feeling self-serving and awkward and cheesy and antiquated and all the things that some of us feel when it comes to sales strategies. And the goal here is to design a business that fuels your life vision. And so it's not just about growth for the sake of money, because when we're stressed about money, of course, that's our dominant fear, right? That's the thing we're most preoccupied. The first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you think, how am I going to go get some money, right? What should I do today? What could I do today? So before we jump into the action plan, I just want to do a little bit of a check-in with you guys. And especially for those of you that don't have your cameras on, because I know what it's like. We can tune into these workshops while we're walking the dog or emptying the dishwasher or walking through the grocery store. And a lot of the time we're absorbing the inspiration, but it doesn't really change our thoughts, our beliefs, or our behaviors to create new results. And so we find ourselves like Groundhog Day, getting up every day, going through the same motions. What could I do today? What should I do today? And from that place, everything just kind of feels heavy because we're leading from our lack or from our scarcity or from this void we need to fill. And you know what? It is legitimate, right? It's a valid situation if you're needing to make more money. However, if that's the thing that's going to activate you is this need, this fear, this uncertainty, then even when you execute, you might find yourself feeling like it's an uphill battle, like you're muscling through the activity or mustering up the courage to do the things the sales trainers tell you to do. So if we're not willing to address where we are on the emotional scale before we begin and our ability to be fully present, to not only receive the strategy, but to sort of embody a new way of being, a new way of thinking and believing so that we show up a little bit differently. So what I want to ask you all is like, just drop it in the chat. If this is you, you can just say, guilty if this is you. And no, like maybe it's not all of you, but how many of us are guilty of waking up in the morning? Maybe your phone is your alarm clock, and the first thing we do is we start checking the alerts. We're responding to text messages, we're in the social media rabbit hole, we're responding to emails before our feet have even hit the ground. Has anybody ever been guilty of that? Okay, so let's talk about this. When we wake up first thing in the morning, before we evaluate where we stand on the emotional and energetic scale, so many of us are in a state of exhaustion, stress, fear, worry, overwhelm, right? And the moment we start checking those alerts, we've just allowed our energy and our attention and sometimes our emotions to be hijacked by the external world. And what I want to tell you guys is that each and every person on this call has the potential to create a quantum leap in your life and business right now. However, it starts from within. It's not out there. It's not the external world's job to bring us to a place of peace. And if we want to go grow our business and earn more income so we can feel the freedom that we're seeking, what does freedom feel like? It feels like peace. It feels like ease. It feels like connection, present moments with people we care about, adventures, fun, joy. And it's not the external world's job to deliver that to us. We have to access it from within. So if you don't have a solid morning routine, I would highly recommend you check out a book called The Miracle Morning for real estate agents. It's just great because it gives you a step-by-step process. And in my opinion, it's not about what time you wake up in the morning. I don't care if you wake up at 4:30 in the morning or 7:30 in the morning. It's about how you start your day. And it's about learning to be present with yourself, with your emotions, with your energy, and with your awareness. Because if you think about what does peace feel like, if you can tap into the vision of what it's going to look like when you're earning more money than you could ever imagine and all your needs are met and all of your adventures are funded and you're living your best life, right? You're high on energy, you're high energy. You become almost like a magnet for more opportunities and more, right? When we're distracted, multitasking, overwhelmed, overconnected, overcommitted, are we high energy or are we depleted? Is the fire ignited or is it a little bit dim or extinguished? So many real estate professionals, specifically in this market, which has a lot of noise, there's a lot of noise, the inventory, the rates, the politics, the economy, all the things, right? There's so much noise that most of us are walking around not even realizing that the light's been extinguished. And we start our day from that state and we try to go take action as if action is going to be the band-aid for how we feel. And because it all feels super heavy, most of the time we don't execute with consistency. We find other things to do, we get distracted, we know what the action plan is, and we don't do it. So the outcome isn't really the issue right now. It's the execution. And the execution is always going to be the byproduct of your energy. So I want to give you permission or invite you to give yourself permission, right? Like I said, it's not the external world's job. Give yourself permission to pause every single day and check in and be fully present here. You're capable of being present, right? If you had a meeting with a client right now, you would be giving them your full attention in the hopes that you can convert that lead to a client, right? To a paycheck. And you'd be unapologetic. You wouldn't feel guilty. Your phone would be out of sight and out of mind. How hard is that for you to do for yourself? How many of us struggle with being fully present instead of filling the void with busyness because we feel like that productivity is going to make us feel better? It's all about how we want to feel, right? And think about this. I want you to rate yourself in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10. How would you, we're going to do this, Britt. This is from that conference, which I loved when Janet did this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in integrity to others? Like you show up to your appointments, you try to get there on time. Sandra's a 10, 9.5 for Britt, 9.5, 10. Yeah, so Sandra talked about already, we're servant-hearted people, right? One of our biggest fears is letting others down. So we aim to please, right? So we show up, we don't evaluate where we are energetically or emotionally. We start to give from an empty well. We try to muster up the courage. We put on the game face. We go and we serve and we drop everything in service of others, right? Now, how would you rate yourself in integrity to yourself? You have great intentions. How well do you execute with consistency? Do you show up to your own commitments that you made for yourself? Or do you make excuses? Do you ever find yourself intending to fill in the blanks? It could be with your health, it could be with your business, it could be with the relationships in your life. And then you got busy. There weren't enough hours in the day. Time flies, right? What we're doing unknowingly is canceling on ourselves. We're canceling on ourselves. We're canceling on our dreams when we don't commit, when we don't honor the commitment to ourselves. And so I just want to share that with you because I want to invite you to pause and I want to invite you to not cancel on yourself right now. And if you watch this recording again, do it again. Give yourself full permission because you going inward to evaluate how are you showing up in your life and business is the first step to transformation. The transformation starts from within. So a little backstory is that I fell into the mortgage side of the real estate space in 2006. I went 100% commission in 2007. Perfect timing in the market. And I was looking for freedom and flexibility. I wanted to be my own boss. Unfortunately, I did so with no game plan, no financial safety net, no confidence, terrified of being seen as salesy. Didn't even want to tell my friends what I did for a living because I didn't want them to think I was salesy. Like that's how like anti-sales I was. Okay. And as a result, by the summer of 2008, I was maxed out on tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Literally so maxed out that when I got a referral for a new client, I didn't have enough money for gas. So I had to ride my bike 5 miles across town in the summer to meet him. And when I got there early to let the sweat dry off, unfortunately, so did he. And he introduced himself to me at the counter as my credit card was being declined for a $2 cup of coffee, back when coffee was $2. It was mortifying. And that was the card that I thought would work. So I didn't want to try another one and have him know the truth that I have no money. So I just lied and was like, that's so weird. That's my debit card. I guess I'm going to have to call the bank. Anyway, he bought my coffee. I was at financial rock bottom. I called my dad for advice. I'm like, how this is so much harder than I thought. And he's like, look, do you think you're going to be good at this someday? And I was like, I think I could. So before we go one step further, if I said to you, do you think you could have a quantum leap in your business? You think you could earn another $100,000 before the end of the year? I want you to check in with your belief. What do you think you're going to be good at this someday? If the answer is not already a resounding yes, we got to pump the brakes, right? I had a guy on my podcast. It's called Pursuing Freedom. It's a real estate podcast. This guy said he got recruited to play pro baseball and they decided to do college instead. So he got a full ride for college. He started the season and the coaches brought him into the office and they sat him down and they said, Damon, we think we made a huge mistake. We thought you had what it takes, but we're not so sure. And as you can imagine, his stomach dropped, tears in his eyes. He thinks he's getting kicked off the team. He's going to lose his scholarship, all the things. And so they let him sit with it for a second. And then they said, you know what, Damon? It's not true. Actually, we know you have what it takes. But until you believe that, it doesn't really matter what we say. It doesn't matter what we think. So once again, we don't get belief from the external world. We get belief from within. So when my dad asked me that and he said, do whatever it takes, I opened another credit card. I hired my first business coach, never been without one since. Easy to say I couldn't afford it. Looking back, I know I couldn't afford not to because I was already at rock bottom. There was only one way to go but up. So if you've been thinking about investing in coaching with Sandra and you haven't yet, just know that it will never cost us to invest in ourselves. It will cost us not to because it is lonely out there. And we're sitting here winging it, hoping for the best, throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks. And it's like we're looking at the sky, it's filled with clouds. The mentor, the coach, Sandra, she can see the light on the other side of the clouds. The sun is always rising, right? The sun is always there. It's just sometimes we can't see it. So someone said to me, a mentor told me one time, or I just heard her talking about it on her podcast. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself enough to invest in yourself in your business, why do we expect others to? Think about that. Okay. So I hire the coach. I'm desperate. I say, do whatever. I'll do whatever it takes. Tell me what to do. So I just awkward muscle through the activity, follow the plan. I want to get straight A's and I start getting some traction, closing some deals. And unfortunately, It was fine. It was just, I kept feeling like an imposter and an alien. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm cut out for this business. I still don't feel like I fit in here. So it wasn't until 2011, I'm going to give you another book recommendation. If you haven't read The Go Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann, it's a must read. The Go Giver. It's an easy, quick read. I read that book in 2011 and it changed my life because the Go Giver philosophy is that the goal is to give value above and beyond what you get paid to do. Give value above and beyond what you get paid to do, which means how do we be a resource for our clients even when they don't need our services? It was a paradigm shift for me because up until then, I was following all the antiquated sales tactics of doing mailers and e-newsletters and the phone calls and the handwritten notes to say, I'm here, I do mortgages, call me, right? And it was awkward and uncomfortable because I was being a go-getter. So all of a sudden I decided, what does it really mean to be a resource to my clients when they don't need my services? And how will I know? So it changed the way I started to show up because now my insecurity of I need to call this guy Jeff, who's part of my database, fingers crossed he'll have a lead for me. That feels like yuck, right? I don't want to call Jeff because Jeff's my buddy and I don't think he wants to buy a house right now. And I don't want to ask him if he knows somebody who wants to buy a house. Let's just like, he doesn't want to talk about real estate. You know what? You're right. You know what I know for sure is that when Jeff woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning last night and he couldn't fall back asleep, you know what he wasn't thinking about? He 100% for sure was not thinking about my pipeline. He wasn't thinking about my lead gen strategy or my bank account or my net worth. He was thinking about whatever Jeff was thinking about, whatever he's excited about, whatever he's worried about, whatever he's working on. These are the three things we want to get to the bottom of. Take your work hat off for a minute. Who are you when you hang out with your friends and family and you're not thinking about work? Who are you? You're resourceful, you're a problem solver. When your best friend is struggling with something, what do? You jump in and start giving them ideas, suggestions, making connections for them. You want to help them. That's who we are at our soul level, right? We're servant-hearted people. That is enough to create a quantum leap in your business. The moment we put the work hat on and it feels like 400 pounds and we're like, what should we do today? What can we do today? Go get some leads. I need to make some money. That's me trying to solve my problem. And no wonder it feels like upstream energy. It feels so weird and awkward. So instead, I take my work hat off, take my agenda out of it. Let's just assume Jeff doesn't want to buy a house right now and doesn't know anybody who does. That's a me problem. Let's replace that insecurity with curiosity. The only way for me to be a resource to Jeff is to be in conversation with him. So I need to wake up every day and I need to do my morning routine to get myself, evaluate where I am on the emotional scale, so I can prepare myself to show up as the best version of me in everything I do. So I can project the energy that I want to bring into the world, so I can magnetize the right fit relationships into my life and business. Okay. And then I say to myself, if I needed nothing. So I tap into that future dream, that future vision, that hell yes energy, the life I'm building. And I say, imagine I'm there. If I needed nothing, how would I want to feel? I would want to feel all the things I said before: peace, joy, connection, engagement. And how would I want to serve? Who would I want to serve? And how can I be of value to them if I don't talk to them? Okay. And that's it. All right. So the next step is, first, you have to have your big dream. You have to have that crystal clear vision. What does it look like when you're celebrating on December 3rd, 2025? What about 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What are you looking back on saying, I made the best decision ever on that day when I said enough is enough. I'm going to design the life I love, powered by a business I've organized to finance it and fuel it. It's going to be epic. I know exactly where I'm going. That's my vision. Number two, who do I want to serve? And this is a big one. People think they just want to get the next paycheck. That's not running a business. That's having a job where you trade hours for dollars. Okay. Your vision must be bigger than you trading hours for dollars, because when you became self-employed, you didn't say to your loved ones, you know what, fingers crossed, I really hope I can never take a day off for the rest of my life. I really hope I can work 7 days a week, 365 days a year, even when I'm on vacation. Heck, I can just go on vacation because I get to work from anywhere in the world. Isn't that great? No, it's not great. You have to be wanting vacations. You want to rest. You want to have a life where you're present with your loved ones when you have a business that runs, whether you're in the mood or whether you're in the country. Okay. So who do you want to serve is not just anybody. The best advice I got from my coach in 2015 is the 25% rule. 25% of people will love you no matter what. And you probably know who they are. 25% never will, no matter what. Okay. And we know who they are too, probably. And the 50% in between are the fair weather friends, or they're the people we just haven't met yet. I wish I knew this in high school, because you can build a happy life and business around your 25%. What that means is that every time someone passes on me, I can very easily say, not my 25%. 1 out of 4 people is the right fit for me. And I'm talking not just clients, I'm talking friends, clients, team members as I build out my team, my employees, my referral partners. So the moment I feel any kind of ick energy, it's a no thank you. It's either a hell yes or it's a no thank you. Now, with that being said, we start to develop our who. Okay. Again, it doesn't matter if you're brand new to the business or you've been in it for a long time. Sounds like Jeff knows a lot of people. This is a perfect place to start. All we do is we get it organized. If you don't already have a database or a CRM, you're going to want one. It doesn't matter if you just start with an Excel spreadsheet. Go through your social media, go through your friends, go through your LinkedIn, make a list of every person you know that brings a smile to your face. So you want to think about the energizers in your life. The people that after you spend time with them, you feel lit up, you feel better, you feel more energized, right? Not the Debbie Downers, not the complainers and the victims and the whiners and then woe is me, right? So you may only have 5 people that you can think of that are energizers, but you know what? Like attracts like. High vibe people like hanging around high vibe people, right? Negative people like hanging around negative people. So start with 5 people, okay? And then what I do is I let them know I'm working on a project for my business. So some of you just got into real estate. It's really simple. Sydney can call and say, hey, I don't know if I told you, friend, that I'm getting my real estate license. And part of my business plan is that I want to be a resource to my friends and family, even when they don't need real estate. That's my subtle suggestion that when they do need real estate, presumably they're going to work with me, right? So there's your like soft plug, but that's not the premise of the call. If it was the premise of the call, I probably wouldn't want to make it because it would feel yucky. So I am going to call Nicole and I'm just going to say, hey, friend, I got my real estate license 3 months ago. I'm working on a project and I want to be like the old school yellow pages. I want to be like your Rolodex. I want you to think of me when you need anything, not just real estate, whether it's health and wellness providers, financial services, home contractors, you name it. Okay. That's the reason I'm calling. And I'm wondering, Nicole, do you have a good CPA? Do you have a good financial advisor? Do you have a will in place? Do you have a good estate attorney? Like, I'm going to let you, my good friend, introduce me to your favorite service providers. Now, this creates multiple opportunities here. Okay, we can start very, very specific. If I know that Nicole is a chiropractor, for example, I may ask her to introduce me to an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, or somebody else in that wellness industry. If I know she's in finance, I might be asking for taxes, financial planning, etc. Or I could call all 5 people and just find out who their CPA is. Okay. One thing I really like to do is I really like to think about the beyond the transaction, right? So if the transaction is the paycheck, and that's a wonderful thing, but then you're unemployed the next day, we want to think beyond the transaction. So from the very first conversation I'm having with anyone, I'm letting them know, by the way, I'm more than just a real estate professional. I want you to think of me if you need anything. And it becomes like a mantra: health and wellness, financial services, home contractors, you name it. Contact me if you need any local service provider, because even if I don't have that person in my Rolodex, I know enough amazing people that I can get somebody good for you. All right. So that starts the conversation. Think about how a consumer is shopping around for a real estate agent. And one real estate agent tells them what their strategy is for finding a house. That's very transactional, right? The other one starts talking about all the resources they have if real estate is part of their big picture wealth building journey, and making sure that you've got everything in place in your wealth building journey beyond, and real estate is just one part of it. Like the real estate agent is just one piece of the puzzle. And so from the very first conversation I'm having with a prospective client, I'm asking them, if you've already owned real estate, did you set up your will and trust, or will or trust? Do you have something to protect your estate? Do you have something to build your wealth? Do you have somebody to help you protect your wealth? Do you have good insurance? Do they make sure that you have the right coverage for where you are with your assets? Now, do you think that conversation would immediately set you apart from the competition? Because you're caring about them beyond how you're going to get this deal and this paycheck in your pocket, right? So from there, I'm on the phone with Nicole and I say, she says, yes, I have a CPA. And I say, well, how would you rate your CPA on a scale of 1 to 10? If it's anything less than an 8, 9, or 10, I'm going to encourage you to meet so and so, right? And then if it's an 8, 9, or 10, if Nicole says like, oh my God, my CPA is amazing, I'm going to ask her to introduce me to that CPA with a warm email. And I'm going to let the CPA know that as a real estate professional, I'm always introducing my clients to amazing service providers because I want to be a resource before, during, and long after closing. I want to be a resource above and beyond what I get paid to do. I heard you're amazing. I'd love to meet you. I want to learn about your business and see if I can't support you. Now remember, 25% rule. 1 out of 4. That means 3 out of 4 might not call you back, may not be high vibe, may not be interested in linking arms and growing together, but if they are, you'll know right away. The moment you meet that person, you know what it feels like. That energy is just instant. It's like a collaboration just begins, like what happened when I met Britt, when I met Sandra. It's just like instant. How can I support you? What can we do together? How can we collaborate, bring this energy? So what happens from two individuals with two ideas? New ideas are born. New ideas. And I want to stop right here and talk about this because our lives are more unscripted than you could possibly believe. And here's how we know this. Think back to 12 months ago and think of any new relationships in your life. I'm looking at 2 right here. 2 months ago, I didn't know Britt or Sandra. Now, a year from now, when I think about people that came into my life, I'm going to be thinking about the 2 of you and I'm going to be grateful for you, right? Did I script that? Did I conjure them up in my fear-based analytical brain that needs to have it all figured out and then go find them and bring them into my life? No, the stars aligned. So we can start to become more curious about the unfolding, the unknown, and almost revel in how fun it could be as we start to meet new people, then be all like, I need to know how it's going to play out. I need to connect all the dots looking forward. I see people apply this strategy all the time and they get disappointed on like the first person who doesn't respond to their call or their email or their text or whatever. And it's like, and they just give up. They're like, this just isn't fun. It's like, no, don't give up. Like 3 out of 4 people are not the right fit for you. They don't deserve you, right? They're not your vibe. That's okay. So they start introducing us. I start meeting new service providers. I go call Britt. Well, Nicole said her CPA is a 6. Britt has a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. So I get in touch with Britt's CPA and call Nicole and say, I want to make this connection for you because this CPA is so much better. And I just at least have a conversation with them, please. Right. And then Britt needs a good estate attorney and Nicole had a 10 out of 10. So I'm making that connection. Well, here's what I'm doing. I'm leading every new relationships with referrals. I'm starting the relationship with the CPA, the financial advisor, that so you can be hyper niche down. Like if you want to focus on real estate investors, it could be all only resources for real estate investors. Okay. Next thing is as we start to meet these people, we can find creative ways to promote them back to our community. So one of the things I did was the coaching program I had been a part of was actually a coaching program for realtors, which is why I built my business with my sphere. I never chased agents, even though I was a lender, but I was always looking to bring value to realtors because I wanted to be a resource. I understood that as human beings, our job title doesn't define us. We all have insecurity. We all have worry and fear and overwhelm. So like if we can just link arms and have real conversations, I can find a way to be a resource to you too. So long story short is that I started finding ways to teach what I was doing to the realtor friends. And instead of having a mailer go out every month on home improvement tips and turn back the clock reminders and like recipes for brownies I don't even bake, right? Why don't we start promoting these local service providers? So every month I did a mailer that introduced them to my client appreciation program. And here this month, I'm going to introduce you to Carlin Legg. Okay. And Carlin is an amazing fill in the blanks. I love working with her, blah, blah, blah. She's incredible. Here's her business card. That required me to reconnect with Carlin and get 200 business cards of hers. And every mailer went out with somebody else's business card, not mine. Okay. My picture and my signature is all at the bottom. At closing, we would bring a business card binder filled with all the business cards of all the business owners in my tribe. So I would give it to them at closing and say, put this in the junk drawer in your kitchen. If you need anything, you just check here first. And at the very top is my business card, the realtor's business card, the insurance agent's card with our images, right? And so it's like, this is your old school yellow pages. If you can't find what you're looking for, reach out to me, right? We could do events, virtual or in person. I had the estate attorney do a workshop for my community to explain in layman's terms what is the difference between a will and trust and why is it so important, right? Now, that may be interesting for you if you've ever lived through a probate situation, or if you've lost a loved one, or if you've dealt with clients that are going through that. It is horrible, right? So we really want to anchor, we can customize the strategy to align with something that would feel interesting to you. It doesn't have to feel like a should or a have to. There's some truth within you. There's some life that you've lived, whether it's stages of life, life events. It could be marriage, divorce, children, grandchildren, becoming an empty nester, loss of aging parents, being and appreciating veterans, real estate investing. I mean, something about you is already enough for you to be of value to somebody else in that way. Maybe you've been through a relocation. Maybe you remember what it was like when you relocated and it took you like 3 years to find the dentist and you keep flying back to your hometown to go to the dentist. That's what I did. So like, that's why I say health and wellness professionals. When people would relocate, we would introduce them to the pediatrician, the OBGYN, the dentist. I mean, and you guys would not believe what happened. Every single one of these people became my referral partners. When I sat down with a newborn wedding and family photographer and I taught her this strategy, I said, hey, when you give your photos to your clients for your annual family photos, why don't you give them something with a list of all the people in your tribe? Why don't you build a tribe and say, hey, I'm more than just a photographer. I know this might seem random, but if you guys are ever buying a new house or you need a financial advisor, you just got married, you're having kids, here's all my favorite people in the real estate world or whatever, right? Before long, this 26-year-old newborn wedding and family photographer was referring me $600,000 deals back in 2012, which today would be like a $1.2 million, because you know why? Those people had a budget. They were hiring a luxury service. The newborn wedding and family photographer is actually a luxury service. People who spend on that kind of thing typically have a budget. They're also my target market. They're having kids. They're getting married. They're buying houses, right? So we can think beyond the transaction as we're meeting people that become part of our tribe, that we want to find creative ways to promote back to our database so that we can market ourselves as the resource. We're literally creating turning the light on from within. All of a sudden that flame is ignited because you know what? This is fun. It's really fun to be of value to others. It's really fun to get creative on how I can support you. And I stopped marketing me. I just started marketing everybody else. And I was everywhere with it. Okay. And then we got creative, like closing gifts. I gave a $25 gift card to a mini session for the photographer. So when they got their new house, they would have a $25 gift card to a $100 mini session, but that would typically lead to her getting new clients, right? And what a cute idea to have a photo session at the new house. Same thing with like a handyman, a cleaning service. You can give gift cards as part of your closing packages. So as I started promoting these people back, they all started using me and referring me. One of the biggest complaints in the real estate space is lack of reciprocity. Like I have a vendor list. Well, first of all, the word vendor in and of itself, it sounds like they're disposable. They mess up once, they're off your list. They're not your friends. Those aren't relationships, right? So a lot of realtors miss the boat when they say, I have a vendor list. I'm like, what do you know about them as a human being? Because once again, the job title doesn't define us. What we want to do is get to the bottom of that 3 a.m. moment. When Jeff couldn't sleep last night, what was he excited about? What was he worried about? What was he working on? If you lead with these kinds of questions as you're building relationships with other business owners, you're going to find ways to connect to it's so invigorating because you have so much in common, even though your job titles are different. And then you find a way to be a resource to every person you meet. So the next time you wake up in the morning and you're feeling kind of stuck, just say to yourself over and over and over again, I intend to be of value today to every person I meet. I intend to be of value to every person I meet. That will move you out of insecurity and forced striving energy and into a place of curiosity, love, receptivity, openness. And now we can go and find people to talk to, not from the place that I hope I get something out of this. That's a me problem. We got to take that hat off and just be you, the light, the bright light, the soul that shows up with your friends and family on the weekends. That's who you want to bring into every interaction, not this persona, not who you think you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to look like so you can get leads, you can get deals, so you can present yourself as this great realtor. No, It's you that they want to work with. It's you, the light, that's the magnet. That's the lighthouse in the storm. The ships start coming to port, but we've got to be in massive engagement. And I talk about that this morning is like the one thing that all succeeding realtors and lenders are doing right now in this market. Number one, they take care of their energy first. They put on their oxygen mask first. They don't just get up and react. They're running a business, and as the boss, they need to slow down in order to speed up. Okay. They have a plan. They have minimum standards for what it looks like to win the day, win the week, win the month, win the year. They rest. All right. And they're in a massive amount of conversations right now. There is no business happening without conversations. If you are hiding behind push marketing, e-newsletters, and social media, it can work. It just takes a lot longer. You can't be a resource to somebody if all you're doing is pushing out, I'm a realtor. You've got to get to the bottom of that 3 a.m. moment. That's the mission. That's the goal. And then you leverage the relationships you already love to meet the people they love. And then you start to find those service providers that you love and you start promoting them back. That's your content. Now you've got massive amount of content, massive amount of value, massive amount of visibility. And again, you become like attraction, a lighthouse. It's much easier. And again, you can niche it down. So if you guys want to do like a case study on what that could look like, if there's something that's like stirring up in your mind. The bottom line is this, you guys. I used this strategy in 2011. I developed it after I read The Go-Giver. The business went from averaging like 30 transactions a year for several years, where it was fine, but I just felt out of alignment, to doing nearly 80 transactions in 2012. And I had way more fun building the business, being myself, being authentic. But when the business took off, I was working 24/7 and barely surviving my own success. And at first, it felt like a good problem to have. And it may sound like that to you right now, but trust me, it's not. Burnout is real. And being tethered to your phone 24/7 is not actually you being the highest level professional that you could be. True professionals have systems and they have support in place and they're energized. Energy is everything. Energy is what is attracting you or not. So eventually I had learned to scale, but I hired my first team member, one of my best friends, in 2014 after nearly quitting the business in 2013. And my number one fear came true. Within 90 days, the business dried up because I was training her. So we had 2 closings in August of 2014. I was like, all right, well, I'm paying you 100% commission. I don't think I need a full-time assistant if I'm closing 2 transactions. So here we go. And I went and did the exact same thing. I just re-engaged with building my tribe, promoting them back, building new relationships, leveraging the tribe to meet more tribe. Like that's the way we did it. It's my tribe of trusted local service providers. And between August, we had 2 closings. That December, within 4 months, we had 12 closings in December, which also debunks the myth that business is always slow in the winter. Business is not slow anytime if your execution is consistent and your energy is through the roof. So that's the key, is we manage from the inside out. But that was like 6 times the volume in 4 months. And it happened again in 2018. Rates went up. The refi business died. I came into 2019. I had hired several more loved ones at this point. My P&L was in the red. I was freaking out. And I was like, all right, back to the basics. I started having fun again. I started having tons of conversations. We went from 3 closings a month in January to 9 a month by March to 17 a month by June. Quantum leaps are available. And that was in a crappy market where lenders were struggling because rates had gone up. So just know that it's not the market's job to give you abundance. It's yours. And it's available to any single one of us the moment we choose. And we have that point of no return moment. It's like a tipping point. And I bet, like I just did, I bet you all have a few stories in your life where you were just like, no, I'm not settling for this. Enough is enough. I'm not settling for this. It could have been a breakup. It could have been a change of career, but you had those moments. You knew what it felt like to say yes, like the energy was yes. That's what we want to cultivate. So let's cut it here because I'd love to hear any questions. Or, like I said, we can case study if you guys want.
So one of the things, thank you, first of all, this was great. This was a much deeper, more thorough conversation that I think several people on here have had, like the idea of building something like this out. And yet the way that you described it is something that every single person can go take action on today. And because we only attract people with that like positive, servant-hearted energy to the collaborative. So everybody on here thinks that way. So one of the things that I thought about when you were talking is all of the things that you did in your business and all of the things that you already teach fellow realtors or that you teach other lenders about in your coaching. Those are all things that every single one of those business people need because the majority of them don't have coaching and training in their worlds. So I would just add to what you already talked about. If there's a way to systematize or put together a resource for those people about what it looks like to hire leverage or get back into energy and having fun again in their business, that would be a way to add value to all of them as well while you're building their businesses. So thank you for that. I haven't thought about it specifically that way before, and you just reminded me of that.
Yeah, so I started teaching the professional carpet cleaner, also a luxury service, right? People can go rent a Stanley steamer from the grocery store or they can hire the professional cleaner. Well, he was a pretty ambitious guy. His dad had been a carpet cleaner, but he had bigger vision than that. He wanted to have a $2 million a year business. So he was pretty innovative and he was creative. And so he started giving a magnet at the time of the carpet cleaning that had all the people in the tribe. And so I was teaching these other business owners because you're right, like not every business owner has access to personal and professional development. They maybe just fell into that craft like Jake did. And Jake became, again, a repeat client and a major referral source for me. Every single person, there's a resource, there's like it's a build your tribe checklist, but it's just like it just has lists of businesses. It's like accountant, acupuncture, carpet cleaner, car mechanic. Like it's in alphabetical order, but it's like every single one of them, I could tell you the first and last name because they became good friends, clients, and referral partners. So yeah, that I don't know. Any other questions? Or like I said, do you want to case study something? Britt?
Yeah, Erin, I love the way that you just so easily flowed with your conversation when you call someone to say, "Hey, I'm more than a realtor. I actually da 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 da." Just like rolled off so easily. So, do you have like a script we could adapt along those lines? So I was like writing as fast as I could, and I really love this idea. So I think that
Yeah,
we need to build our referral network, but the intentionality with every phone call being more about that is pretty genius. So it's thank you.
Yeah, so I can, Sandra, I'll send you a copy of my ebook. It's just a free resource. It's like the cliff notes of my book.
Okay.
Pursuing Freedom is the book and the podcast, and it outlines the step by step, but it's also like it's a book, so it's like a story and all that. But the ebook is the cliff notes, and I'll send that to you guys for free if you guys want. And then it does give a script. It's just kind of like, hey, Britt, I'm working on a project for my business. I really want you to think of me when you need anything, not just real estate. And I'm wondering if you know a good fill in the blank. And I could, and if I get you on the phone and I could ask you a few people, like I said, I could ask you about do you love your insurance agent, financial advisor? So we could keep it super like wealth building focused in the beginning and we can build out from there. But as I'm building that tribe of financial service providers, again, I'm often leading with referrals because I'm going to call Britt, then I'm going to call Nicole, then I'm going to call Jeff, then I'm going to call Carla, and then Sydney, then Sandra. Then after I've amassed the list of action items, if I ask Britt, does she have a financial advisor, a CPA, an estate attorney, and a financial and insurance agent, right? And how would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10? I have 4 action items. Because if she says 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, Britt's going to introduce me to these people. I'm going to make 2 new friends, maybe 1, who knows, right? And then Britt needs these 2 people. So I'm going to go find you somebody awesome. And I'm going to do that after I've spoken to everybody else here. So one day is for calling my friends and clients. So that typically for me was Wednesdays. I always did my database calls on Wednesdays. And then I would say Tuesdays are for tribe. So on Tuesdays, I would be reaching out to these business owners, setting appointments, making connections. And what I love about today versus then is nowadays, like if I was doing this strategy today, just because I am all about efficiency, I am the antithesis of a workaholic. Okay. I had burnout for like a season of my life. And I was like, no, this is not why I became self-employed, was to be a slave to my business. So I work as little as possible and as efficiently as possible so I can play as much as I possibly can. And I live in a ski town, so there's a lot to do here, a lot of playing. So anyway, I'm just sharing this because having a schedule is very key to knowing when you're done. Because if it's not measurable, then how do you know when you're done? Because we can't measure our activity today with the paycheck not in the bank today. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we're so anxious about needing that paycheck that we want to like burn ourselves out with just doing more and more and more, but we're not even sure if it's effective. Or we've not been measuring at all what we've been doing, and we probably haven't been doing enough because we don't know what to say. Can anyone relate to that? Like, what am I going to say? It's like, you know what to do, but you're like, but then what? What are we going to talk about? So it's like, yeah, don't take the work cat off. Okay. So anyway, Tuesdays over try. But what I was going to say is from a perspective of efficiency, if I was doing it now, I'd probably set up Zoom calls. I'd probably have like 30-minute Zooms with 15-minute breaks, and I'd do like 5 every Tuesday, meeting different business owners. And when we hit it off, then the next time can be in person because I'm going to want you to bring me like 200 of your business cards because I'm going to do a mailer with you in it. And when we meet in person, we're going to do a little video, and that's going to go out on social media, and I'm going to tag you, and I'm going to show up on your feed, and you're going to show up on mine. And then we're going to feature you in my e-newsletter. And then we're going to do an event. Let's co-host a client appreciation event, and let's cross-pollinate our database. So, hey, like the state attorney invites their database and I invite my database and we do an event. We've just created magic because we've just amplified our reach through these relationships. Okay. So we get creative on how to link arms with these people. And all of a sudden we create a ripple effect. It's like, so you can't see how far that ripple goes. That's why I always say, like, assume. If I'm calling Sydney, I'm going to assume she does not need my services and she does not have a lead. That way it's way easier for me to call her. I'm calling her because I genuinely like her a lot. Okay. She brings a smile to my face. I love hanging out with her. And I'm going to spitball this idea I've got. Okay. Does anyone have any more specific questions? Because I can also share how this played out in a more like niched experience for me. Would you guys like to hear like an example?
I would, and I'd also like to hear, or maybe it's in your cliff notes, like how you track all the people. Like, I need these 2 people. I mean, are you Excel spreadsheeting it like a boss, or are you
No, it's so dumb.
like so-and-so needs this? And
no,
they
it's so silly. Honestly, blank spaces like taunt me. Like, so I would print out this list that just had like all the businesses, and then I would go for the blanks. I mean,
Okay.
we used to do this in like a workshop format, and I'd be like, all right, everybody fill in all the people that you already know off the top of your head who you would refer in any of these business categories. Let's say there were 20 business categories. And at the end of like 5-10 minutes, I'd say, does anybody have any blank spaces? And everybody's like, yes. I'm like, perfect. There's your homework. Fill in the blank spaces. And so I would keep it on my desk. And the nice thing about keeping it on my desk is it would remind me, let's say I'm on a call with an in-process lead or client under contract. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, oh, by the way, I almost forgot to tell you, I'm more than just a real estate agent. I want you to think of me as like the old school yellow pages. I'm a resource before, during, and long after closing. And the nice thing is when you meet a lead, and let's say they tell you that they're not going to be looking until early 2026. Wonderful. If I get upset that the client decided to rent for another year, again, that's me thinking about me. It's a me problem. If I look at that as an opportunity, that gives me an entire year to show my value. By the time first of all, by the time they go to buy the house, they're not going to be shopping around anybody else. Most realtors, the client says, I'm going to rent for another year, and you never talk to them again, which gives them an entire year to find somebody else. Okay. The other thing that happens is while you're being a resource, they're at the office and somebody mentions buying a house and they're like, oh my God, my realtor is amazing. They're not referring you because of your job title. They're referring you because of your value, your humanness, your heart and soul. So like, let your freak flag fly. Let your heart and soul be as big and bright as it could possibly be. Like, don't play small. All you're doing is being of value. That's the only mission. That's it. Okay. It's limitless. And if it doesn't feel exciting to you, you're still tethered to the outcome. So I want to share something with you that I'll come to you in a second, Carlin, but somebody was talking about doing this process and then they were getting really overwhelmed. And I'm like, it's because you're tethered to the outcome. You're worried about how it's all going to play out. I said, what would be the most fun for you? What would be the most fun way to do this? Do it that way. Find a way to just lighten up a little bit. The magic is in the conversation. Okay. Carlin.
Hi, I just had a quick question for you. I am the person that you just mentioned where I had started doing this maybe 2.5 years ago, and I got super overwhelmed by the process and got like too many contacts and had too much work to do follow-up wise, and then kind of gave up on the project, on the whole project, but then was still in contact with some of the people and didn't do a great job of follow up and finishing the project. But one thing that I found across the board was that a lot of the people that I would call and ask about the CPA, they'd say, yeah, I have one, but I need a new one. Everybody hated their CPA. So I never ever found, and myself included, because every tax year I use one and then it goes badly, and then I use a different one and then it goes badly. And it's just, anyway, it's chaotic. But that's one thing that I found across the board, was that nobody really loved their CPA and could give them more than a 7 out of 10. And I heard you earlier in the call mention something about social media and, you know, getting on with those preferred business owners. Do you have any advice as far as involving met people on social media that could help with this process, or lead generating in that way also on socials?
So let me get a little more clarity around that question. So when you say using social, in what capacity?
Like to help fill in the gaps where you still have blanks.
Oh yeah, like you could post, hey, tag your favorite CPA below. I'm looking for a new CPA. The other thing is, a lot of the times when we're noticing that the end user, which would be like the client of the CPA, isn't happy with the CPA, another route would be to go through other financial service providers. So ask the financial advisor who they refer, ask other realtors who they refer, ask other, you know, insurance agents, attorneys, like go to that industry and find out who their peer-to-peer referrals are.
Got it.
You
Okay,
might be, yeah, more
thank
high
you.
caliber. And I want to respect the time, but the quick thing I wanted to tell you is in 2011, I went to like a 5-week training, and the woman said, focus creates fire and fire spreads. So pick a focus. And it was like, pick a subset of the community that you feel genuinely, like sincerely interested in. And so I thought appreciation, I used to be a teacher before mortgage. I was like, I want to appreciate teachers, et cetera. So it started with that. I called a realtor buddy of mine. He's like, I'll participate in some teacher appreciation. My mom was a teacher. And then we call the insurance agent. We're like, we don't even know what we're doing. We don't have to have all the dots together, right? We're just like spitballing. Going to do some teacher appreciation. And the insurance agent's like, Farmers has discounts for teachers. And that was like, light bulb. Who else has discounts for teachers? So I tried to go on Google and find like discounts for teachers in Denver. And I didn't find any centralized thing, but I found like there was a car wash. And then I thought, well, why don't I ask some teachers if there were some services that you'd like to see discounted? What services would they be? And are there any service providers you want to introduce me to who might want to participate in a project where I create a coupon booklet? So all these different service providers are going to give discounts for teachers. And then I can go back to the teacher and say, would your principal allow me to have these printed for every staff member in the school? And now I have a branded thing going into the hands of every teacher in the school. And then I start thinking, what other teachers do I know? So we call this like the 3-lane highway. Like lane 1 is the target market teachers. Lane 2 is everyone else who serves teachers. And lane 3 is everybody else I know. So like I could just call Nicole and say, do you know any teachers? I'm working on a teacher appreciation program. And Nicole's like, yeah, one of my best friends is a teacher. My mom's a teacher. My sister's a teacher. It's like, awesome. Can you make an introduction? I want to pick their brain about this project I'm doing. What am I doing, guys? I'm just in conversations. I'm in a lot of conversations. The whole purpose behind this for me was to address my own fear. I wasn't executing with consistency. Even after I hired the coach and I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, and I'll just do it, like whatever, I'll suck it up. It was uncomfortable. It didn't feel aligned. It didn't feel authentic. So what I want to leave you with is that, like, I want you to I want you to think through what would make it fun for you. Could it be focusing on a subset of the community? Could it be focusing on investors, empty nesters, right? Like, is it a geographic thing? Do you want to be the hyper local digital mayor in one of the neighborhoods in Charlotte? Like, there's ways to make this fun. It's got to be fun for you or you're not going to do it. And so we're just trying to reverse engineer the way you show up and get energized and get excited, and then dive head first into something that could be interesting and fun. Show up as your normal heart and soul, not this persona you're trying to become. You will be shocked at the ripple effect. It's the impact you have on people's hearts and minds that leads to your name popping up at the dinner table. You can't see it. You can't script it. You don't need to know. So drop the outcome and just go all in with your heart and soul and have some fun. Bring value to every person you meet. Don't leave any interaction without some action item. You're going to find out something else is going on when you're on the call with your friend. The mom's in the hospital. The dog died. They're expecting a baby. Now you've got a reason to show yourself as a resource. So you communicate it, you leverage your existing relationships, you promote those new relationships back to your existing relationships, and then you look for the action item with the existing relationship so you can demonstrate what you claim you're doing out here. Okay, so it's not just like lip service, you're doing it. Is that helpful?
That was so good. Thank you. Well, she just dropped so many bombs and nuggets that are going to help you guys win in business and life and set your day up for success. Wasn't she great?
Erin, you're the best.
So good. So I would like for 2 or 3 of you really quick, because we do this every time we have a guest, to share the top takeaway that you have that you're going to take action on so that she can tell what difference she made in your life today.
I took away you have to show up for yourself first in the same way that you show up for everyone else around you.
Love that.
I had put it in the chat, but you had said something that I thought was a total genius nugget, which was, it's not the market's job to give you abundance, it's yours. So just asking myself, where do I go get that abundance today?
Love that.
All right, one more person.
I got it. I love one of my favorite things in life is to make a connection. Like, oh, who do we know? What do we have in common? That's like my favorite thing. And I really love Resource Wednesday, like a play on like Resource Wednesday. And I can't wait to start finding different resources and marketing them, because it's so much easier for me to say, hey, you are so great. Hey, you need this person in your life. Like, this person is the best. And instead of being like, hey, I'm a realtor, like you should want me, I love, hyping somebody else up. And I think that is such a great idea. And I'm like brainstorming all the ways I can do that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome. Does anyone else? I know Sean put something in the comments as well to put his own oxygen on mask on first, which is super important because that actually determines the version of us that we show up to everyone else as, right? So I thought that was a really great reminder. Thank you, Erin. And Britt was just sharing, she loves the systems, the time blocking of days, etc., that you shared. And I just want to say thank you for living in alignment with all the things you just talked about with us. I feel like since the moment that you and I got to chat a few weeks ago on the phone, you just have shown up that way already. And I'm excited for you to be here today. And if you don't mind, I'd love to invite you to come back in the future. Would you guys like to hear her again in the future around different topics? Yes? Awesome. Well, make sure you check out her book. She does lots of amazing things. This is just a tiny snippet of the amazing things that she does. And Erin, we're just so grateful that you were here and contributing to all of us.
Thank you for having me, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's Monday.